14, verses 1 to 20. I'll split it in half. Comment as I go. At Iconium, Paul and Barnabas went as usual into the Jewish synagogue. There they spoke so effectively that a great number of Jews and Gentiles believed. But the Jews who refused to believe stirred up the Gentiles and poisoned their minds against their brothers. So Paul and Barnabas, against Paul and Barnabas spent considerable time speaking boldly for the Lord, who confirmed the message of his grace by enabling them, Paul and Barnabas, to do great miraculous signs and wonders. There you go. God enabled the gospel by great miraculous signs and wonders, more so than in now. I mean, or unseen to the world, you know what I mean? To get the gospel off the ground. Not these false guys doing ministers and it comes out later they're all actors. Okay, they have great answering. The people of the city were divided. Some sided with the Jews, others with the apostles. There was a plot afoot among the Gentiles and Jews, together with their leaders, to mistreat them and stone them. Apostle Paul and Barnabas. But they found out about it, Paul and them, and fled to the Iconian cities of Lystra and Derbe, and to the surrounding country, where they confirmed to continue to preach the good news. In Lystra there sat a man crippled in his feet, who was lame from birth and had never walked. He listened to Paul as he was speaking. Paul looked directly at him, saw that he had faith, so he healed. So he said to be healed, and called out, "Stand up on your feet." At that time the man jumped up and began to walk. When the crowd saw this, what Paul had done, they shouted in the Iconian language, "The gods have come down to us in human form." Barnabas they called Zeus, which is God, and Paul they called Hermes, because he spoke for Zeus, as their traditions. The priest of Zeus, Paul, they thought, whose temple was just outside the city, that's why they believed that, brought bulls and wreaths to the city gates, because he and the crowd want to sacrifice to Paul and Barabbas. But when the apostles Barabbas and Paul heard of this, they tore their clothes and rushed into the crowd, shouting, "Man, why are you doing this? We too are only men, human like you. We are bringing you good news, the gospel, telling you to turn from these worthless things to the living God, who made heaven and earth and sea and everything in them. In the past, he let all the nations go their own way, do wrong. Yet he has not left himself without testimony." But now it's to Christ he's got the word. But he still gave you what's coming up here, kindness, and giving you rain, and from the heaven, the crops, the seasons, right, to fill your hearts with joy. 18, and in these words they had difficulty keeping the crowd from sacrificing to them. Then some of the Jews came from Antioch and Iconium, and when the crowd over, they stoned Paul and dragged him outside the city, thinking he was dead. But after the disciples had gathered around him, he got up and went back into the city the next day, and Barnabas, and they left for Derbe. So he was left for dead, meaning they thought he was dead. They beat him pretty good with the rocks. But God was with him, or half a miracle either way. And Apostle Paul got up and left. Okay, bye.